Hello, hello, friends. We are in With Wisdom, embodying energy, embracing seasons, coming to the end of March, celebrating 1 year together with Sam. And for this year together, we decided to let you experience a little bit more about ourselves. In the previous episode, Sam interviewed me, and today I have the honor and the great gift of getting to know a little bit more from Sam for you and for myself also. So welcome, Sam. How
Hello,
are you
hello.
today?
I had to do the hello, hello.
Yeah, say hello, and then we can start, and I can start asking you questions.
Yeah. Well, very nice to be here, Gabby. It's nice to be interviewed for
Yeah,
a change rather than being on the other side and us doing all the interviewing. Yeah.
yeah, and being inspired by the way you interviewed me last week. I'm curious if you would like to share us. I mean, when one reads your name, which I always have trouble to
To
spell.
pronounce.
Yeah, Hajasuria.
Jayasuriya.
Haja,
Jayasuriya.
Jayasuriya.
That's it.
I know it's coming from Sri Lanka, but if you want to share a little bit more about your
Mm,
ancestors and your roots and your experience, would you
yeah.
uh,
Yes, so my name Jayasuriya, I have to spell it every time. Whenever I speak on the phone to someone or I'm giving my name, I immediately just say Jayasuriya. It's like an automatic, instinctive response. But I love my name, my surname. I love my first name too. Slightly different about my first name. I think I've got grown to love and like over the years.
mhm.
But my surname means victory over the sun. So that's something that I really quite like. When I remember my dad telling me that when I was little, that Jayasuriya means victory over the sun, and it felt very kind of powerful. It felt very powerful for somebody who was very, very small, and the fifth in the family. That's what my name meant. And Samantha, I think there's various different meanings of the name Samantha. I think one of them is listener, which is quite useful in the job that I do, which I'll come on to in a moment. But there was something around. I recently did a little bit of discovery around the name Samantha because when I went to Sri Lanka, not that recently, maybe 2 years ago now, I met two men called Samantha, and I've always in the West, Samantha's always been a very female name, but
Mhm.
there it was very much a man's name. And it kind of struck me the differences of how different names can be gendered in different countries in different ways, like Eve in France, slight different spelling, but it can be a man or a female name, a male or female name. And so I looked into this, and actually Samantha in Sri Lanka, that name comes from the god Saman. So there's something very powerful, that meaning. So it felt like, oh, I feel like I've got two very kind of weighty names that I want to live up to. Victory over the sun. I don't want to be necessarily dominating the sun, but I love to be in the sun, and I love, as our whole channel is all about, living with the seasons piece. And then for the people who don't know me, who've never met me, who've just suddenly happened upon our channel, I am a coach, and I'm a coach trainer and a coach mentor. I'm also a writer. I love to write. And I'm all the other things. I'm a crafter and I'm an activist. I'm a knitter, a sewer, a bookbinder, all of those things that I can make with my hands, because I feel very strongly that we are handed beings, and we can use our hands to destroy and hurt, or we can use our hands to create and make magic. So I choose the latter rather than the former. So I use my hands to create beauty, in however many different ways I can. That's me in a nutshell.
Wow. When while listening to you, I think for me, I mean, that's the doing self, what you describe,
Mm,
but your essence, I feel, or my experience of yourself is like your book binding, is your binding, or dividing or bringing together, no, people, worlds,
Yes.
with care and compassion. Yeah. So yeah, you're a wonderful
Mm.
woman to me. And since we started talking about all these different the meanings and living up to a name and getting to love your name and where you come from or your family, how all these different streams of that have made yourself come together with the wisdom, or which kind of wisdom you draw on for your current work and
Mm.
your being in the world.
Mm. I think I really do draw on the natural world. And that's always been with me. And I've drawn on the natural world, the wisdom of the natural world, nature around me, from being a very, very young child. I have very, very early memories of being in the garden, outside, in nature. And that's always with me. You know, if I take a step into my own garden or out to take my dog for a walk, I'm always kind of looking and being curious about what's around me. So I'm drawing on that all the time. You know, the tenacity of a snowdrop to push its way out through the ground in the, you know, back end of winter when it's really cold and it's icy, you know. But I draw on that for me. Yeah. I drew on a very, very, very beautiful tulip that's just opened in my front garden, which is a beautiful, beautiful shade of pink. So I've drawn on that today as taking in some of that liveliness in the colour and the depth of that shade of pink into my life today. Yes, so I would say first of all, nature. And then in terms of other wisdoms, I wouldn't say necessarily a particular belief or belief structure or even a teaching, but I do draw on, I think you said something similar in your interview. I draw on people. I think I draw on the wisdom of people through the conversations I have with others. So earlier on today, I had a conversation when I went swimming with one of the people in the group who is an ADHD therapist. And we had a really interesting conversation about a particular element, which then I thought, oh, that's really interesting. How does that play out in my life and what I'm doing? So it's those short incidental conversations, not necessarily planned conversations.
Mm-hmm.
It might be a conversation I might have with somebody at the bus stop or in a shop or walking through the park. You know, those little conversations, I find them really useful and really interesting, and I can bring them into my day. Mm. And then I clearly do draw on the work of others, the writing of others. I am a bookworm. I'm not a recovering bookworm like you said you were. I am a bookworm. I'm surrounded by books and I love to read. And I read widely and broadly. I will read children's books. I will read adult fiction. I'll read information books. And in particular, there's I suppose there's a sort of there's two distinct kind of types of books that I'm really, really immersing myself in at the moment. One through nature writers, people who are mapping out the natural world through their own journeys. I find that really interesting to read. And another section of books around people who are imagining a future perfect place, which is, you know, going from the what is to the what if.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what if we have our children able to play out on the streets without being worried of being snatched or run over? Yeah? What if we had huge arrays of birds around us that everybody was able to recognize and notice and welcome? Yeah. So I'm very much reading about people who are in that what if place. And particular writers like Rob Hopkins, I would put into that kind of tranche of writers. And podcast leaders like Amanda Scott, that kind of future world, to make our world a better place for however long, there's so much destruction in the world. I really want to be in that what if place. Yeah, so I suppose those are the nature, conversations, those particular writers and artists, creatives who are in that space of looking forward.
Mm.
Mm.
And that leads me to the second question, because you are talking about the what if, but for being able to imagine and to bring into life that what if, there's then the seeds we are putting in the soil nowadays, and what are the kinds of seeds, or how is the way you live nowadays enabling that what if and the legacy you envision for the world that will transcend your existence.
Every day is a new day. Every day is an opportunity. Yeah. So being very hopeful in my outlook. And there are times when I'm really not hopeful. So it's about how do I get to that place? Giving myself a bit of space, usually taking myself out on a walk. So how do I live now? I think I have a couple of things that you can't see above my desk and above my screen that help me. So there's one quote that I have on my wall that I had on my wall when I was a head teacher many years ago. So in terms of building a school community and a local community around that school, our lives begin in the everyday and stay in the everyday. Only in the everyday can we begin to create truly great worlds. So I think it's around that. That's the starting point for how I live now. It's only in the everyday that we can truly create great worlds. It is such a powerful kind of saying and a thought, because often many people I work with are kind of like not in the everyday. They're in the future or they're in the past. But it's here. This is the place. So reminding myself that this is the place. And there's something else I have over a couple of things I have on my desk, but this one here, it's been here for a long, long time. How to build a community. Wow. So how I live every day is about building a community, and different types of community. It could be your family community, it could be your neighbour community, it could be your local community, it could be a wider community like we are building here with wisdom. But this community of people who have this passion and drive and energy to create a better world. And the most basic things in community, in building a community, is looking up when you're out and smiling and saying good morning to somebody. Or saying, hello, how are you? Yeah. And noticing, if you're not even wanting to say anything, noticing and smiling and acknowledging somebody else's presence in your life, whether that be the bus driver. I don't often go. I didn't go on the bus. I seem to have mentioned the bus quite a lot today. Bus driver or people who are sitting on the bus with you, but actually just seeing and acknowledging people. And in the same instance, I would see and acknowledge plants and trees in my life too. So I have various different trees and plants around me that I will kind of almost say hello to. Some of them I physically do say hello to, but I acknowledge them and I see them and I notice them. Yeah. So how do I live now? Very much around wanting to build communities where people are seen, where people are understood, where people are heard, recognizing good work, recognizing and champion, I think, people who are valuing other people's diversity, valuing other people's story, lineage, ancestral wisdom. Yeah. We may not necessarily agree on everything. And actually, I think it's very rare that you ever find somebody that you really agree with everything. But with that community, it's about finding, so the way what I would say is finding common ground. Let's look for the common ground. We talked about that in one of our last podcasts, finding the common ground. What is the same? And then once you've got the same, you build that trusting relationship. Then you can start to explore some of the differences. Yeah. Sometimes people all too often go to the differences first, and they find that that's too hard. Let's find some of the things that we're the same. We all both love this. We both love nature. We both love coffee in this way. And then you start to talk about some of the differences. Yeah. So I think being present, and a lot of that has come, I would say, very much from my experiences from when I was a youngish school leader. Because one of the children in my class died in the playground. I'd been teaching him all year. We were in May. He was nearly moving on to his secondary school. And he was playing long ball, which is a game when basically what they're doing is they're throwing a ball from one end of the playground to the other side. And in a second, he died. He had a faulty heart valve. Nobody would have known about it. And in that moment, when he died, and then the resulting what happened afterwards, I recognise really clearly how important it is to live every day and to live every moment as well as you possibly can, because none of us know when death is going to take us. And the head teacher I worked with at the time, I learned so much from him at this particular juncture and this particular time in my life, because we decided, so this has happened at lunchtime. Just imagine this lunchtime playground. Everybody's out playing. He dies. I went out into the playground. I gathered everybody in. All the children knew that they needed to be away. There was no fussing. They all just came in with me whilst the first aiders were tending to him. And then the ambulance came. We all stayed in our classrooms. I saw the police come. We talked. I knew something bad had happened. Like, I didn't know at that point he had actually died. I knew that at that point, as soon as I saw the police, that meant he had died. And this head teacher was so amazing, the way that we then went from class to class to talk to the children. We gathered the parents together and talked to the parents at the end of the day. And we decided together, because I was his deputy at that time, not to close the school the next day. We decided that it was really important. And these are children from 4 to 11 who needed to grieve together as a community, and the teachers needed to grieve together. And I listened to him as he read a book in assembly. It's called Badger's Parting Gifts. And I read a book to my children. Sorry, I'm making you cry. But I read a book to the children in my class because he was one of our class. He was, part of us. And it was, I cannot for the life of me remember the title. I've got it downstairs. But it talks about lifetimes. We are born and we die. And what's important is the living in between. And that's what's important, is the living in between. And if any gift that I would have given that class of children and that group of people at the time it's the living in between that is so vital. So that takes me back to our lives begin in the everyday and stay in the everyday, and only in the everyday can we begin to create truly great worlds.
Wow. And for me also, I think the greatest gift all of you gave is the opportunity to train grieving. Because in my experience, sometimes we fear so much going through this uncomfortable, like crying and expressing, and don't be sorry to make me cry. I love to cry because there was a point in my life I couldn't cry in front of people. I cried a lot in my room, but I didn't cry in front of people because I had this I learned through growing up that it was a weakness, no? So, and I didn't cry in front of people. Even when my father died, I comforted people, and I didn't cry that much in front of people. And thanks to his death, I learned to cry, and I think it's a greatest gift. But the thing is that it's a muscle we train, grieving, and when I see the world nowadays, one of the greatest challenges and what for me brings so much violence in the world is that people are not really going through their grief.
Yes.
And since they don't digest and metabolize this grief, it's transformed into violence,
Yeah.
into disconnection, into silence.
Mm.
I live it myself. I mean, when I didn't
Mm.
express in front of people, then I was
Mm.
angry. And I cry also thinking because thinking what you did in this school. I remember when I was working at BSF in the company I worked many years, there was one colleague of us. I mean, she didn't work with us every day. She worked in Russia, but I met her and she came to meetings and she died. And
Mm.
for me, it was so disheartening that we didn't have a moment as a group to grieve. That no one, I mean, that one day someone told me, oh, by the way, I mean, she was crushed by a train or whatever, no? And it was like, and when I cry, people say, oh, but Gabby, don't be so sensitive. I say, it's a being, it's a person. I mean, and here in Germany, they have this idea that being professional is to be like, I mean,
Very poker
separating,
faced. Yeah.
yeah, separating feelings
Mm.
from this and that. And me, they
Mm.
always forgave me because they saw, Gabi is from Latin America, so she's sensitive. But I think it's an important skill.
Yeah.
Grieving and crying,
Mm.
it's not bad. It's
Mm.
important to let it would bring so much peace. And I think you all did so. It was a difficult thing, but these kids learn a wonderful. I mean, in a difficult situation, a great lesson.
Mm.
So
Well,
thank
you're
you, Sam.
right. You know, the whole thing about grieving, it takes many, many different forms. So for me, I was able to, I know this now, I had at that time the ability to hold them and hold them and hold them in their tears. Mine came 2 weeks later
Wow.
when I was at the new parents meeting and we were bringing in the new children who were going to start in the school.
Mm.
And it was in the evening, and all these very keen and eager parents were there. Their young children were starting in the school, and that's when, for me, that's when my tears came. And at that point, I needed to be excused from the meeting and leave because of that. It was like that was enough for me at that point.
Mm.
Um, and it's I think, I suppose, for how am I living now is actually acknowledging that sometimes you just have to go with the flow. It might be now, it might be later, it might be, a couple of months later, but just allow those emotions to surface, because I feel like it's like the tide. They will come in, it will heighten, and then it will subside. But
Mm.
trying to squash, say, maybe some of those sadness, or trying to squash that is not so good. You just got to let it come up and go. Yeah.
Yeah, they complete a cycle.
Mm.
The moment I understood that you need to complete the cycle and there's
Mm.
no way around it because it
Yeah.
becomes, if you don't do it, it becomes in depression or anger or
Yeah.
violence or
Yeah.
illness or whatever. You need to complete the cycle.
Mm.
The skill.
Which is, I think, why we do this channel. It's about reminding people that there is a cycle of life that is going on automatically, and how does that align with the way what's going on for them as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Mm.
wow, Sam, thank you. That was. You see, every day we learn something new from anyone,
Yeah.
and I'm very
And
grateful for that opportunity to meet you more and more
mm.
and
I'm grateful that I was
witness
able
it.
to share that with you as well, because it wasn't anything I had in my head. It just came through as that was what needed to be said right now, and that particular point in my life, which was incredibly important.
Mm.
Um, an important time.
Thank you. Something that you want to share before we say goodbye, or something more that about this year together, or whatever you want to?
Oh, I've had a lovely year, but I fancy you choosing a card for me. I feel like I need a card.
Yeah, and you.
Oh, the medicine woman.
And I have this beautiful oracle. You see, it's a woman
Yeah.
on a turtle. And it's
I
from
like that.
I bought it because I like the artist that made the cards. It's a French woman, and I like it very much. And it also goes quite well with our channel because it's about nature and seasons and the natural world, which I must confess nowadays, each time I see a tree or a flower, the other day I said, Diego, my son, well, if Sam would be here, she would know for certain what is the name of this tree because I'm very bad with that.
Okay. I'm going for green. Just literally where your finger was. Go back a bit. No, the other green. The other way. That green. That one there.
Oh, you like this totem because I think you already had it. It's the coyote totem.
Oh, I love coyote. I love
I
wily
think you already have it because it's show humor, laughter is your medicine.
Yes. Yes, I'm Wile E. Coyote. I like it.
Yeah, and the number is 16. Let's see what it says here. Yeah, these are it's divided in the gifts of the feminine, the totems, allies, spirits cards, and the medicine action cards, and the archetypal medicine women cards. But this is a totem. So let's see what is the coyote. The coyote is a trickster, you know?
Yes, I know.
I like the tricksters. They put the chaos in the cosmic order. It says, I am the spirit of the coyote, the sacred clown. I bring you the medicine of laughter so you can take a step back and laugh at yourself. I tease and destabilize you so you may find unknown resources inside yourself. And I will make well, I will read. Do you want the symbolism, the guidance, or then it's a ritual that I make a picture of for you afterwards?
Yeah, you can send me that afterwards. That sounds good.
I will just say that it's the keeper of the southern door. It's called the sacred dot in native traditions, and his presence is associated with
wiliness.
Wiliness. What it means, wiliness?
Like I think that's kind of sneakiness. I don't know about sneaking. Kind of cleverness. You know, being able to maneuver out of situations easily.
Yeah, and it's not always welcome.
No.
He's totally, actually, you know what is funny that I'm writing about in my book, the cover of my book I showed you, no, it's a picture in this place in Arizona, and that's the place of the coyote.
Yeah.
And I'm writing about the coyote, and so it's not always welcome because it's chaotic, and his totem is destabilizing. He hides deep wisdom in what can look like trickery or a bad joke from the universe. What can seem negative or chaotic can conceal hidden truth. The coyote's presence is often troubling. He's a powerful teacher who gives you the opportunity to move away from excessively rigid seriousness and be more cheerful. Yes. So he softens rigidity.
Yes, I like that. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much, Sam. Thank you for this year. Thank you, everyone listening to us. And we invite you to comment, to let us know about yourself. And please share, like, subscribe if you haven't done so. And we say goodbye to March with wisdom.
Goodbye to March. Wow. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.